Whether you're homemaking for yourself or you're homemaking for your family, we all have those small habits that add up each week and make our home come alive again. And so I wanted to share the things that are helping me. One of the habits I come back to every single week is getting something going in the kitchen. It's not even necessarily making one meal at a time, but always having something kind of in the works, whether it's a baked good or something for breakfast the next day, or just getting ahead on my weekly roasted chicken or something in the crock pot. I always like to make sure that something is being made in the kitchen. Getting something going in the kitchen is so easy this time of year because with the holidays and the coldness outside, it just makes you want to be in the kitchen and have something cooking, and the aromas of everything just perfume the house. So I've been baking a lot of pies lately and testing out some new ones that I want to share around the holidays, and so I am making one that is so good. It's a honey nut squash and sweet potato pie. This morning I've been working on testing a pie recipe that I want to have around the holidays, and so I'm making one that is inspired by a sweet potato pie, but instead of just sweet potato, I'm doing a mixture of sweet potato and roasted butternut squash, or actually honey nut squash, the little small ones that I usually grow in the backyard. They're so sweet and tender, and so I just roasted that in the oven. So I'm combining that with the sweet potato in the filling. It's kind of like a custard filling, like pumpkin pie, but just a little bit different. And I have a pie crust here. It's all butter. I just baked this off and blind baked it with some dried beans on top and some parchment. And now I'm gonna go ahead and put the filling in, and I'm gonna bake it off, and we'll see what it tastes like. I feel like it's gonna be really good because I love a sweet potato pie, but sweet potatoes can be kind of rich and a little bit heavy. So I thought with the butternut squash, it's gonna lighten it up a little bit and just make it a fun spin on a traditional pie. And boy, does this filling smell good already. I always love to pull from the seasons and really have that inspire the cooking, and this time of year especially, because there's so many things that are in season, not just pumpkin. And so to be able to celebrate things like sweet potatoes and honey nut squash, a lot of the things that we grow and store in our homes anyway, I love to be able to put those to good use, not just in a savory way, but in a sweet way too. And so this is just a really exciting recipe, and everyone I've made it for has rant and raved about it. And it is just so fun to make a pie like this filled with all of these wholesome veggies. So I start by making a pie crust, and I blind bake it with some pie weights or just some dried beans and bake that off for about 35 minutes or so. And then we par cook it basically, and we'll let it cool down before we add in this delicious filling. And to make that filling, I just roasted some sweet potatoes and some honey nut squash that I cut in half, and then just put that in the oven and let it cook until it is so sweet and caramelized. And then I let it cool, and I put that in the food processor and blend it together with all sorts of different spices and some eggs. And I love that this pie is mostly sweetened with just maple syrup, because not only is that obviously good for us because it's just in its natural state, but it also imparts so much maple flavor, which is just perfect in a pie like this. In order to give this pie just that perfect kind of filling, I mixed together a little bit of heavy cream along with some baking powder, and I mix that together, and you add that into the pie filling, and it kind of almost aerates it, makes it rich and creamy, but gives it just this beautiful smooth texture. So that is a little trick for making pies like this. It is just such a great little trick. Then I'll whirl that together, and that's ready to go. I just pour that into my pie crust and get that into the oven. And pies are one of those things that this time of year especially, if you have a pie in your kitchen or on the counter, it is just all of the fun of being home. This is really what it means to be home to me, is to have something made that's been made with care and love, and nothing says that like a beautiful seasonal pie. Sometimes when I'm getting back into the swing of things, I can feel kind of frozen and not know where to start. So one of my favorite things to do and kind of start with is by cleaning our drop zone, like our main drop zone in the home, which for us is usually our dining room table, because it kind of works as our island since the kitchen is smaller. And so I like doing different things on the table, like folding my laundry, so that way I can stand. And so I prefer to go ahead and declutter the table. Usually I'm moving off tons of school stuff and leftovers from different meals, and so I'll take everything off the table and spray it down. That way I can move on to the next habit, which I always run to, which is just a quick 10 or so minute laundry reset. So I love just taking a load out of the washer, putting it in the dryer, taking whatever's in the dryer out, and I'll quickly fold that and get it into my laundry basket. And I have this nice big laundry basket because it almost works as decor in our house, because usually there is always a load of laundry going. And so I used to have laundry baskets that would make the living room look like it was falling apart. And so I invested in a good laundry basket. That way, if it's full of clothes, I can still leave it on the corner of the couch and it still almost has this cozy feel to it. That way I'm not struggling to put away laundry. I can kind of just leave it there as a storage basket for our clothes. And it helps laundry time just go a lot more quickly, because I don't have to worry about taking everything upstairs and immediately putting it away. I can leave it there and do a whole nother load and then put that in the laundry basket too before I have to move on and take it upstairs. So this is just one of those things that is kind of a small habit, but it truly does help me keep my table cleaned off and keep the laundry constantly moving. Something that always makes me feel better about our home is letting it sort of breathe. So I love being able to have plants scattered all around the house. And so I'll go around and water all of those plants. And then I love opening up my windows. Even if it's cooler outside, I'll turn the heat off for a little while and just open up those windows and let the house kind of breathe. I know it's said that usually in times past, people would do this and it just helps everyone be healthier. Just that crispness in the air and just letting the house kind of aerate and breathe. And so I love to open up my kitchen window, open up a dining room window. I'll go upstairs and open up a bathroom window and a bedroom window. And then you have the plants in there too that clean the air. Like on my bedside table, I have a peace lily. I love that because right next to my head when I'm sleeping at night, I have this plant that is just cleaning the air, and it just makes the house feel beautiful, whether it's perfectly picked up or not. And in our bedroom specifically, it's also really important to have natural and organic mattresses, which is why I've chosen to partner with Birch on today's video. We recently redid our bedroom, and not only did we want to make it less of a drop zone, we wanted to make sure that there were as many natural materials in our bedroom as possible. We needed to switch over bedding, and I knew we needed to switch over our mattress. It was really old, it was starting to hurt my back, and it wasn't made of non-toxic materials. So your mattress can produce these toxins in your room, and I knew that I didn't want to have that in my room anymore. The reason I wanted to go with Birch is because they are made from natural and organic materials, which means there's not that off-gassing that so many mattresses produce, and they're 100% fiberglass free. They're natural and organic mattresses from the original line and the premium luxe line, which is what I chose to get, are both made from natural and organic materials. So they're crafted with natural wool, organic latex, and organic cotton. And you don't have to worry because they're certified safe and fiberglass free, which means there are 0 polyurethane based foams in this mattress. I really wanted to make sure that my mattress was going to be safe for not only me, but also for my little kids. So I feel so much better to have this in my bedroom. I've been sleeping so well because it just supports your body, whether you're laying on your back or your stomach or your sides. They're so comfortable. I love the medium plushness of the luxe mattress. I was trying to debate whether to go with the firmer original mattress or this one, and I chose the medium plush luxe mattress, and I couldn't be happier because it really just hugs you. And this time of year especially, as the days get shorter and shorter, I know I'm spending a lot more time inside and even just on the bed reading a book. So this is the perfect time to make a switch to a natural organic mattress. So thank you so much to Birch Living for sponsoring. And if you're ready to switch over to an organic mattress too, you can visit birchliving.com/healthy Elizabeth and use my exclusive partner offer for 27% off during their Black Friday sale. Thanks again to Birch. One of the reasons me and my husband decided to redo our bedroom is because for so long it was turning into a drop zone, a workspace, a kid's playroom. And so it was important to me to kind of take that back because it creates just a more restful and calming place. And so I redid the room and I kept it very neutral because I love that it just feels kind of serene when you're in here. It still feels warm and cozy, but it's just kind of a natural looking bedroom. There's lots of linen and organic cotton bedding and mattress, and so I wanted to make sure that it was just really simple, and it's made a huge difference because now in the nights or in the evenings when I go into the bedroom, it feels cozy and it helps me just kind of decompress from the day instead of kind of triggering me by having clutter around and just too much going on in there. Which leads me to the next habit I have, which is creating just these seasonal touches around the home, whether they're big or really small. One of them is this blanket because we've had our first freeze now and the nights are getting really cold. And so I'm adding this organic cotton quilt. It's like a muslin material and it is the softest thing I've ever felt. It's my favorite thing besides the mattress in my bedroom now. So between the two, it's just a match made in heaven. So whether it's a quilt on your couch or on your bed, I love adding something to just encourage you to cozy up because so many of us can start feeling kind of not our best when the weather sets in. But instead, I really like to embrace that and just embrace the coziness. And a great way to do that are things like slippers and fireplaces or heaters, cozy blankets. It's just the small touches. Even just a candle makes the world of a difference. Instead of feeling like the sun is setting too early, you're really embracing the calm, restful months. For my mini little bedroom makeover, I really focused on the materials I was using in the room. So there's lots of organic cotton and organic muslin, and then I have a nice throw blanket and just really layered the bed as much as I could. And then I have some linen pillows on the bed, and it just makes it feel so cozy, but it's also really practical because sometimes during these kinds of months, you want to sit on the bed and you want to read a book. And so having things like extra pillows and extra blankets just makes it so much easier to do that. I also replaced my bedside table because before I had one that was made from faux wood. So I wanted to replace that with real wood. And then I also replaced the curtains and added just these beautiful linen light filtering curtains. So there's still lots of light coming in and it just creates a beautiful ambiance in the room. Tonight I plan on making a really easy slow cooker soup. I am whipping up some really easy sourdough discard raw cheddar biscuits. These are just a really simple drop biscuit and you use lots of raw cheddar, so they're filling and they're the perfect addition to a meal. So all I do is take a bunch of raw cheddar cheese. You can use sharp or white cheddar, whichever kind you like. And then I just do a mixture of some flour and some leavening agents, some garlic, and then I also add in some buttermilk. And this just makes the perfect kind of buttermilk and sharp bite from that cheddar. It's just a perfect biscuit. And then you add the sourdough discard on top of that and it just has a beautiful flavor. It's so easy to make. It comes together in no time at all. And if you have sourdough discard sitting around like I always do, then you can whip these up pretty much any night of the week. You just stir together that batter and then I scoop it with a scooper and just bake it in the oven. And these are so good. They're so much better than what you can even get out to eat. They're from scratch and just really delicious. And they're perfect alongside a nice hearty soup. So if you want to make these, I will have the recipe up on the blog so you can get over there. Tonight's dinner is really an easy one, and it's inspired by ham and bean soup, but instead I'm using some smoked turkey legs that I have and I want to use up. So I'm going to swap that out for ham. You could definitely still use ham, or you could use leftover turkey from Thanksgiving. So this would be a good recipe for that. So I'm just doing this in the slow cooker to make it really quick and hands off. So I'm starting with some olive oil along with some beef tallow, and then I'm adding in some carrots, some celery, onion, and garlic. And I just like to let that sweat down first because it makes the soup go a little bit faster. So I put it on saute mode. I'll let it get nice and softened, especially those carrots, and then I'll add in the rest of the ingredients. It is super simple. I just add in all of those veggies, and then I'll add in my 2 drumsticks, my turkey drumsticks, lots and lots of chicken broth, and then I like to add in some cans of white beans. So I'll usually use about 2 or 3 cans of those, along with some fresh herbs and some bay leaves, and it just turns into a really flavorful soup. And at the last minute, I decided that I wanted to add something else to it to make it even heartier, so I ended up adding in a little bit of rice. There are so many different habits I could share with you about keeping the kitchen going. Another one that is just really helpful is making sure that at the beginning of every new week, that things like flour, canisters filled up, we have the sourdough starter fed, I have butter on the counter becoming room temperature to spread on bread, restocking the fruit bowl. It's really simple things, but having everything just kind of in place, ready to go, just makes everything run a lot more efficiently. So like for me, I use a lot of different kinds of flours, so I like to make sure that each of those canisters are filled up and in their places. And I'll refill things like spice jars because we're always going through lots of garlic powder and onion powder and Italian seasoning. I can kind of take inventory on the weekend or whenever it is that I'm doing my groceries. Even restocking things like my root vegetables and making sure I have plenty of carrots and onions and potatoes. It just makes putting together a from scratch meal a whole lot easier. After dinner, we like to tidy up the kitchen and the table, and then I love going around the house and just dimming the light. I'll dim the lights in the living room, in the dining room, and by my bedside table. Sets the mood for a calm and restful evening in the home.